Hey, that space portal opened up again. Maybe I'll escape and do a cooler oh geez oh dang all my mutuals are space ghosts now. Looks like I found myself yet again in the ethereal expanse, Ghostfire's new 5th edition setting that went live on Kickstarter the moment that this portal opened. Which was yesterday. I got thrown forward in time, and also Ghostfire speaks Australian, so it's not my fault. I can't figure this place out. I keep swimming around and dropping into jungles at random. If only I had the dang old hardback book, like a setting guide or something for this place. I bet they even have really cool stretch goals too, and a bunch of tiers that I can't even see right now because I'm stuck absolutely chilling with this skeleton dude. These are potatoes. Did you know they're releasing stuff on virtual tabletops from now on? Y'all have been asking, so we're making the move. There's even more of them as stretch goals. I bet if you went to the Kickstarter with the link in the description there, you'd be able to, you'd back the project and get a cool book at a really low price, or with like a bundle or something. I don't know, man, I'm out of there already. Here's the video. Welcome to a video about blights, D&D's primary plant-based people who do what the Lorax couldn't, which is kill people. You do know that the Onceler cut the animal population down to like 100 bears and then made them wander the desert for 40 years? I think little DeVito should have grabbed a Glocker Spaniel and put a couple bottle caps in that chinless digression. Blights themselves are unique in the sense that the first of them spawned from a garden tool and a vampire, but that isn't exactly where they originate, and they can be reborn as a race at any time. Since their initial lore pertains to a patient zero, let's take a stroll down history lane before we meet our new friends. In 3rd edition, there was an adventure released called the Sunless Citadel. Before the events of the adventure, a vampire named Golthias was being all evil and shit. There was a guy nearby who was just chilling in his tent, and Golthias showed up and was all like,
"Let me snack on them flush red cheeks, boy."
The guy said no. Golthias couldn't get into his tent, so he plucked a tent stake from the ground to bring it down, but the stake flew up and killed him instead. The guy leaves, and eventually the vampire's sick nasty willpower turned the stake beet red, and it somehow grew into a really cool tree actually.
The Tree of Blight.
The big-ass tree grew, and its influence consumed all the plants in the nearby forest, symbiotically turning them into blighted little soldiers. As this single tree forest got bigger, the plant people got stronger, and they all began to desire what that vampire originally wanted, which was to be all evil and shit, and mess with people in tents and steal their marshmallows. So that's the first iteration of blights, but now that we roll into 5th edition, they decided that if a little bit of evil accidentally touches any tree, it gets all big and starts converting plants into evil people. Oh yeah, also I guess in an adventure that was earlier, Golthias was a dragon cult leader, so he probably has some real cool treasures too. There's a set of 3 basic blights and also a space blight, each one with some neat details and some things to consider. As one of these blight trees' influence grows, the scrawniest plants gain consciousness and pull themselves out of the ground to begin a march on tiny animals. Akin to the grunts from Halo, they get pretty scary if there's like 24 of them, but if you kick one a couple of times it will die. And if you know their weakness, being like fire or headshots or a grenade, they die much faster and in groups. Once their so-called forest is grown and food is all but gone, they'll head out to watering holes and root themselves for a few months until adventurers or tired animals stop by to drink. And then when they all pop out of the ground and approach you slowly, you throw a torch at them and laugh as they squeal and pop. A bump upward are the needle blights, the most unsettling of the big 3. They look like tall people made from spiky pine cones, and unless commanded, it seems like they act as outer perimeter guardians for the blighted tree. Some of them hang out at the tops of trees, while others just shamble around like zombies, waiting for intruders or healthy living things. Then they go sicko mode, launching a spray of plant needles that pierce armor from the front while butt blasting alarm seeds out their backs. Then before you know it, you go from fighting 3 to running from like 40. And unlike twig blights or Hylian pine cones, they aren't susceptible to fire, because D&D 5e absolutely sucks when it comes to damage vulnerability. If I ever run them, you bet your bottom barrel dollar that they're gonna pop and propagate like real pine cones, or those sandbox tree seeds that blow up. The vine blights are a healthy serving of greens served up hentai style, since they not only launch vine arms at you, but they can talk to the roots around them and ask you to get tangled up while reinforcements arrive. I think they serve as sort of stealthy captains for their masters, usually trees. And they don't just talk to roots, weirdly they can talk to you too. Maybe I forgot to mention, but all blights at least know English, it's just the vines that can talk. Usually to parley with strong enemies like adventurers, or to make fun of you as you get thrashed around by their vines. Lastly are the astral blights, who came out with Spelljammer, so you know they're cool. Here's how they're described. See the accompanying stat block. They glow, they come from a big crystal vine, they do radiant damage or something, I don't know. Fuck them, in my book they don't even count. Back to the real ones. Currently, they're just really cool dark magic infestations in a natural setting. But if you're a strong enough druid with a destructive inclination, you can probably make or command your very own blight army, which is just like an entire living forest, relatively at your command. The basic vampire blights are all born from the will of that tree, and although their sentience eventually grants each of them independent thought, they still have to obey the thing that made them. And since it's born from an evildoer, the blights and trees collectively act as the original bad guy's progenies, which means they usually seek out and attack the dead guy's enemies, collect and protect his valuables, and then also spread and eat forest because that's their nature. I think there's creative potential for like a dozen blights, like lesser tree blights, thorny whipberry blights, you gotta have acorn blights. Hell, anything carnivorous or tropical would spook me to death. Imagine a blighted island. That'd be awesome. And that's basically blights.
When you see the Wicker Devil in Tree Afterlife, tell him Jake says hello.